Welcome back, this is News Extra. Now, the YMCA in Norfolk are celebrating their 160th anniversary in this county this year. Quite an achievement, of course, but that's 160 years of helping young people in our community. And there's an awful lot going on to recognise that milestone.
In 2016, the YMCA celebrates 160 years of helping people. Over the years, that help has taken many different forms, and in this film we will hear about some of the work it does today, as well as what it has done in the past. I wanted to know what the young people being supported today knew of that history, and what their reaction would be to knowing that they are part of a long tradition of helping others in Norfolk.
That's one of the videos the YMCA have been producing in Norfolk, looking at how they've changed and developed in that 160 years. Well, tonight I'm joined by their Chief Executive, Tim Sweeting, Project Officer Karina Flynn, Chelsea Hishon and Amy Moore, who are both service users and with the YMCA and have been acting as young curators for their 160th anniversary. A very good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tim, I'll start with you. 160 years, a huge achievement, but how much has changed in that time?
Well, a huge amount. You can see society around us looks very different to 160 years ago, and the great thing about the YMCA has been able to stay relevant to young people through that time and to the wider community, so we can see to what Norwich and Norfolk needs and make sure that we're there to provide the proper solution that they need to help sustain them going forward.
So I'm sure there's plenty of people who pass the building, know where the YMCA is, but might not really know what it does now, what it does in the community now, in a broad brushstroke. How is it interacting with the community now?
Well, I think people see the buildings, you're right, and think it's just about accommodation, but actually it's so much more than that. We're out in the community helping families where the children are on the edge of care, we're helping in terms of training and education, and there's so much more that goes on than just putting a roof over somebody's head. It's the development that they need to help them get a job and to become all they can be.
Now, as you're saying, the services have evolved in that time, but it's also important to recognise where it's come from. Karina, I'll bring you in here. What kind of things have been happening to try and recognise this? Well, it's a huge anniversary.
Yeah, so YMCA Norfolk is 160 years old this year, and the Heritage Lottery Fund have given us a grant to do a project with young people, engaging them with heritage, with their local heritage and with the history of the charity. We've been doing a wide range of skills training activities. One of the big things that we've been working on is an exhibition, which we initially had on display at the Museum of Norwich. It's now open and it will go to the forum after that. But what we did was a large group of young people looked at the archive material and kind of responded from what they felt were the important stories to tell. And that was about a diverse history of lots of different types of work and involving lots of different types of people. And for them, it was really sort of important to have that platform to be able to show people that the charity has supported people in so many different ways and isn't just associated with the work that it does now. And really kind of trying to show it in a positive light and show all the amazing work that it's done.
Well, a great deal of stuff to go through, and Amy, Chelsea, I guess that was some of your job. How much stuff did you have to go through, Chelsea?
Well, we did.
There was a huge amount of stuff. Was it quite difficult to pick?
Yeah, it was. It was very informative, though, learning about the history and going to different places. Though we went to London and visited the Hackney Museum and the British Museum, and that was very informative. And then we actually got what we wanted to do for our exhibition, like ideas from Hackney, which was very informative.
Yeah, so lots to work through. Amy, were you quite shocked about the sheer amount of, I guess, work and things you had to pick from when putting this together?
I think I just kind of all took it in my stride, because I like throwing my ideas out there, being as creative as I can be, and so I really thrived in that sort of environment where, you know, there was a lot of work that needed doing.
Well, were there certain things in there that surprised you, that you didn't know the charity had been involved in?
I didn't know how much work it did during World War I and World War II, and how much of, and how in great deal in that time. We came together as a community, like the YMCA held like garden parties just down St Giles where the old YMCA building is. There was garden parties. They looked after the wounded veterans that came back from the wars, and I really liked that, how, you know, we came together as a community. And I'd like to think that if God forbid another war started, that we'd kind of come together again.
And Chelsea, did you have any particular favourite bits that you uncovered or discovered going through all this material?
The history, because I didn't know how involved we were, and I didn't actually know about the poppy, which was symbolised back with the YM when they were helping in the war, and how they brought people together. I didn't know about that, and how they bring up spirits as well.
I think there's quite a few things that from the history that people don't know in terms of the poppy being developed by a YMCA volunteer back in 1919, that the YMCA invented basketball and volleyball back in the 1890s. And there are many things throughout history that we don't shout about now, because it's about the difference we can make today. But there is a rich history to tell, and we hope that people, when they see it, they come along to the exhibition as it's doing our tour around the county, that they will see that there is great work that's gone on before, but it will give them extra reason to want to support our charity moving forward with all that we could achieve in the next 160 years as we try and really focus on the needs of our community.
And we talk about the history of the charity as well, but a big part of this project has been to give young people at YMCA today a voice, so that they, I mean, when we look back on the history, the things that they were most drawn to in the photographs and the material were the stories of the people who've been involved and what their experience was. So for them, it's actually a really big part of the project to record their own experiences now, to try and support people in the future, looking back and being able to sort of understand how they felt and how they
putting a
dealt
very
with
human
things.
face to it,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But 160 years on, Tim, a lot of the challenges that were faced by the charity when it set up and the people it's been helping, are there many similarities now that you see?
There are, unfortunately. In terms of the situation that young people face them in today, there's still great inequality in our communities. There's still a lot of poverty. And when a young person grows up in deprivation, all of their outcomes, their potential outcomes for their life, are massively impacted. They're more likely to become a looked after child, suffer educational attainment issues, employability barriers. There are a number of things that mean that they don't get the start in life that everybody else does. And so what we're seeking to do is to try and equalise those opportunities, to try and make sure that they do get the right start so they can fulfil their potential, which is what we think should be the right of everybody.
And looking across the country, Norwich doesn't fare particularly well when it comes to looking at those sort of levels of attainment and opportunity.
No, it's true. Particularly social mobility, that Norwich is the second most likely place in the country that if you're born poor, you're likely to die poor in Norwich, and that's something that we think is not acceptable, and we want to change that. So we're working hard through issues such as homelessness, family support, youth support, working with children, that actually we can do something to help people today, but also to set them up for the next generation as well, so we can break the cycle that happens with families and make sure that they can go forward well.
And Karina, just to finish off really, the exhibition that's open, what kind of reaction have you had from people taking a look at it?
We've had really positive feedback so far. At the Museum of Norwich, we had a lot of feedback, probably from around 700 people who fed back to us and all said really positive things. I think people are really surprised to see all the work that the charity has done, and in that sense it's really kind of fulfilling the objectives actually that the young people set out in wanting to use the history to challenge perceptions of the YMCA. So yeah,
digging out a little bit of hidden history. Well,
yeah.
Thank you ever so much to all of you. We had quite a lot to get through there, but that is all the time we have for this evening. As ever, you can always join the conversation on Twitter. We're at Mustard TV. The hashtag, as ever, is NewsExtra. My thanks to all my guests for their time this evening, and to you for watching. Have a very good night.